Hello, this is QTV News. I am Umudu Gajaga and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. Following the new Ebola outbreak in Guinea, the Director of Health Services tells QTV the Gambia's preparedness to deal with the deadly disease. A West African sub-regional conference on participants from 3 countries in West Africa, including the Gambia, have held a one-day conference to build knowledge and capacity of women to actively participate in sustainable peace building. As Independence Day approaches, a forum asks us to pause and reflect on the architects of our country's independence. We hear about a beekeeping and conflict management training brought 2 warring communities together. In international news, the World Trade Organization has chosen Nigeria's former finance minister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, as its African and first female leader. In sports news, we hear about the exciting climax to a grassroots football tournament. Those were the main news headlines, and now the news in detail. Welcome and thanks for joining us. This is QTV News. The Director of Health Services at the Gambia's Ministry of Health says health authorities are devising measures to contain the Ebola virus from spreading to the country, following its resurgence in Guinea-Conakry. Alusise reports.
It is the return of one of the deadliest virus, Ebola, an outbreak that took the lives of 11,000 people in the sub-region between 2014 and 2016. Health authorities in Guinea last Sunday declared an outbreak of Ebola in the rural community of Guéké in the Zérékoré prefecture, after 3 Ebola-related deaths were confirmed by the National Laboratory, marking the first time the virus has been reported in the country since the previous outbreak, which started in 2014 and ended in 2016. Initial findings are that a medical nurse from a local health facility died on 28 January 2021. Following her burial, 6 people who attended the funeral reported Ebola-like symptoms and 2 of them have died, while the other have been hospitalized. Guinea-Conakry, where the virus had also started in the last outbreak, was one of the most affected countries in the last outbreak, together with Sierra Leone and Liberia. This recent resurgence has raised concerns across the sub-region, including the Gambia, where several Guineans live, and due to the fact that lots of people travel between the Gambia and Sierra Leone. The Gambia was able to survive the last outbreak with no reported case. However, banking on the expertise and experience built from the last outbreak, Dr. Mustafa Bitey, Director of Health Services with the Gambia's Health Ministry, says the Gambian health authorities, including WHO Country Office, are equally concerned and have commenced to work to reinforce its surveillance to prevent its spread to the Gambia.
And he realized that the Ebola is deadlier because 50 or more % of the people who have Ebola usually die. But the nice thing about Ebola is that people start to transmit it after showing symptoms. So unlike the COVID, where people can transmit it 4 days or 3 days before they start showing symptoms, so they can come easily, pass through the airport, did not have any symptoms, and later go and transmit it. But Ebola, most people start transmitting if they start showing the symptoms. And we've asked the public health director to ensure that the point of entries are also now watching for those type of symptoms and ask for people coming from those areas and all that. And we are getting updates regularly from the WHO as to what is happening in Guinea and all that.
Ebola jumps to humans from infected animals such as chimpanzees, fruit bats, and forest antelope. It then spreads between humans by direct contact with infected blood, bodily fluids or organs, or indirectly through contact with contaminated environment. This is a problem for many in the West African countries, as practices around religion and death involve close physical contact.
We are lucky to have very good laboratory people around. Yesterday we discussed it. One of our laboratory scientists, who's helping us with the COVID, is renowned internationally and is going to other countries, including Guinea, to help, with the laboratory issues and sequencing and all. So we are hopeful that this time we will not probably, if Ebola is even widespread in the world, we might not have to be sending our samples maybe to Dakar, wait for results, come back. That's very cumbersome. And that was the standing arrangement in the past one. But now the laboratory has improved a lot, and we are hoping that this time, if it becomes pandemic or that we might be spared that.
Dr. Bitey is now urging the public to be vigilant and report any suspected signs of the virus such as fever, severe headache, and joint pain. But what is certain is that containing such outbreaks will require decisive action by government and farm leadership. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
A sub-regional conference of participants from countries in West Africa, including the Gambia, have held a one-day conference to build knowledge and capacity of women to actively participate in sustainable peace building in the region. Mamadou Lamin Choi reports.
Peace and security in the sub-region, championed by women who want to be active actors in the decision-making process for peace building in the sub-region. This regional conference brings together women organizations from Guinea-Bissau, Senegal and the Gambia in collaboration with the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies. This event is happening through the project Strengthening Women's Involvement in Peace Building in Casamas and Stability in the Sub-Region.
It is important that as women and men who are supporting us stand up, be counted, and are very objective in ensuring that we create that space and we maintain that space where peace and security obtains, and every citizen, every woman is able to stand up.
Collaborative efforts for sustainable peace and security in the sub-region to address a long-standing conflict in Senegal's southern region of Casamas have existed for long due to the potential threats to the people of the three countries. For more than 3 decades of this rebellion in Casamas, which is next to the Gambia and Guinea-Bissau, a project for women's participation to resolve the conflict and bring stability to the sub-region has been in place.
We are the most frustrated during armed conflicts because it is our husbands and children who lose their lives. That is why during the period we feel the pain most. Because of this, during conflict we should stand up, raise our voices and be given the opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. The men know a lot, but we are also knowledgeable and with skills and tactics.
Given their fundamental roles as custodians of culture and nurturers of families, their participation in peace and security efforts is an essential part of the human development process. However, statistics about the participation of women in decision-making platforms for world peace remains poor. According to UN Women, a UN body that promotes women's empowerment and gender equality, women constitute fewer than 10% of peace negotiators globally and only 3% of signatories to peace agreements. For these women, it is time to move away from commitments to action.
Let me conclude by stressing again that sustainable peace is inseparable from gender equality. So without gender equality, there won't be sustainable peace. I hope we keep remembering that and repeating that. In coming years, women must play a more significant and substantive role in making the transition from the culture of violence to the culture of peace.
This conference seeks to prepare the women with the knowledge and capacity in peace-building process and conflict management and mechanisms that can inspire participation of state institutions for the realization of this goal. Civil society organizations and members of parliament are also taking part in today's regional conference as stakeholders in peace building and security. Mamadou Lamin Choi, QTV News.
When countries look back on their journey to independence, it is good to reflect on those who made the journey reach a successful conclusion. The Diplomacy and International Relations Students Association of the Management Development Institute, MDI, on Tuesday organized a symposium to honor, pay tribute and celebrate the heroism of founding fathers of the Gambia's independence. Omar Pijalo has more.
As the country prepares to celebrate her 56th independent anniversary in 2 days, the event is not a mere celebration, but also a sober reflection on the sacrifices of the founding fathers of our independence, who took steps to shake loose the grips of our colonial powers, leading to self-rule. In his welcome remarks, the Secretary of the Diplomacy and International Relations Students Association of MDI, Lamin Cissé, said the efforts of the founding fathers cannot and should not be ignored.
While many other countries in the world took arms and ammunition to attain their independence, ours took a diplomatic route through peaceful negotiations and diplomacy.
Abbas Dabo, a senior lecturer at the Department of Diplomacy and International Relations said it is befitting and justifiable for people to recognize and celebrate the efforts of our heroes who stood firmly against colonialism and brought us independence using diplomacy. The Deputy Vice-Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, Professor Pierre Gomez, spoke of the pre-independent political activities in the Gambia and more specifically about Edward Francis Small.
Gambia's independence, the story, the history of Gambia's independence cannot be complete if we do not start from the beginning. And the beginning was Edward Francis Small. And towards the end, you will now have evidence of why we should start from the beginning.
Hasum Sise, the Director General of the National Center for Arts and Culture, and a renowned historian and archivist, centered his speech on the profiles of the first cabinet ministers of the first post-independence government under Jawara.
April 24, 1970, that's Republic Day, could have only come about because of 18 February 1965. July 22nd, 1994 could have only happened because of 18 February 1965. December 2, 2016 itself could have also only happened because of 18 February 1965. So really, in our Republican calendar, there is no date like 18 February 1965. Maybe we can give it the analogy of a person's birthday is the starting point of everything.
Speaking on behalf of the families of the founding fathers of our independence, a renowned politician, one-time parliamentarian and finance minister in the Jawara administration, who was also part of the Gambian delegation at the final discussion for Gambian independence at the Marlborough House in London in 1964, Honorable MC Cham has this to say.
I want to thank him very much, and I hope this will come out in the form of record, so that students, and not only students, people who are interested in their destiny in their country, will have an opportunity to go through.
The event is organized to instill in the minds of diplomacy students the important role diplomacy and diplomats can play in addressing national issues and achieving national goals. The event also gives participants the opportunity to reflect on the past and help create a path for the future, as well as allow diplomacy students to understand and appreciate their roles in nation building. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
We will take a first short commercial break, and still to come, local, international and sports news. Welcome back, and this is QTV News. Across the country, communities are looking for ways to empower young people by giving them life skills and ways to create employment. The Sifo Village Development Committee, with funding from the Youth Empowerment Project in partnership with the Art Builders Association on Monday, launched the construction of a community market in Sifo. Omar P. Jallo was there, and this is his report.
The project, worth over $1 million, includes the construction of a community market for the women of Sifo and the training of 50 youths in new technology introduced by the Art Builders Association. The training will enable them to acquire employability skills by training in compressed stabilized art blocks production and use. At the launch of the project, the chairman of the Village Development Committee, Lamin Demba, thanked YEP and the Art Builders Association for their support and encouraged the trainees to take advantage of the opportunity and acquire life skills that could help them sustain themselves and their families. Representing the Youth Empowerment Project, Keba Seka, said when they were approached by the village VDC, they conducted a need assessment to find out the positive economic impacts a new market will have on the people and whether it could create employability skills for the youths.
Youth Empowerment Project is here to empower young people with skills, with the objective of fighting the root cause of migration. The techniques we use at the Youth Empowerment Project is not just to provide communities with facilities, but also to train the young people who would be the one to construct, the facilities they need.
Masamba Sise of the Art Builders Association said the compressed stabilized art blocks are eco-friendly, durable and cost-effective. Thus, the need for people to start producing and using the new technology to protect our environment.
This training is geared towards, helping youths to acquire skills in this sector. So definitely, if government agencies, government agencies, non-governmental organizations, and the general public, they all embrace this technology, it will create employment for youths. It will create employment for youths because this semi-skill that you can easily transfer. You can train youths a couple of weeks, for them to acquire skills on this, and it will serve as a source of livelihood for them.
Hawabaji, a participant, is hopeful for a successful training, saying she is proud to venture into a male-dominated skills sector and call on other girls to take up skill training.
Everyone should come out, we search for work, because in this country there is no work. If you are sitting at home, you are saying that I'm going to school. Everyone is not there to go to school. If you have such construction building or such a work, what a man can do. So, yeah.
At the end of the training, the project is expected to provide startup kits to the trainees to help them sustain the skills and become self-employed. Other speakers included Fatih Jata, the representative of the Alcalo, Bubakar Kante, the Sanyang Ward Councillor, the chairman of Young People Without Borders, Khalifa Kante, and Lamin Dabo, the representative of C4 Diaspora. All expressed delight at the project. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Sometimes lack of communication can lead to conflict and misunderstanding. 29 youth have graduated after completing 10 days training in beekeeping and honey byproducts in Sambang village in the CRR. Also learned other important life skills about managing conflict. The training, funded by the International Trade Center, and implemented by the Colony of Bee Services Center.
The training, funded by International Trade Center and implemented by the Colony of Bee Service Center, was held in Sambang Fula and Mandinka Kunda in the Nyamina West District in the Central River region. The program seeks to empower youths in skill acquisition and enhance their capacities in beekeeping and value addition in honey byproducts. The event was also used to educate youths in conflict prevention to promote peaceful coexistence among communities who often clash over land rights. Kairaba Fatih, the director of Colony of Bee Service Center, says bringing together and training youths from two communities who are in conflict is a great achievement.
Bringing two communities under one roof of training, it has been very successful. The unexpected happened because we thought it would have been the same, scenario in the other communities where there is this kind of misunderstanding and they were perhaps disunited because of one reason or the other. But in the case of Sambang, it has been very successful. The people were really receptive. They brought all of us together and then they received us. That since ITC as an organization could just come up with this initiative to bring them together as a family, why not they take it wholeheartedly?
Mr. Fatih added that beekeeping skills will impact positively in the lives of the youths and encourages people to venture into the trade.
The beneficiaries are really impressed. They were surprised and they are taking it seriously. That's the key word. They're taking this job seriously because it has been a new, venture and it is a new capacity enhancement project for them. We want to tell everybody to be involved in farming diversification, and beekeeping plays a central role in that.
The chief of Nyamina West, Ngai Damfa, expressed delight, saying that peace has now prevailed in Sambang following the training that brought together two communities previously at loggerheads.
Ye karandi tilitang fulakunda e motan ni sabatombo maninga kunda e motan ni They were trained for 10 days. Fulakunda selected 13 participants and Mandinka-Kunda selected 14 participants, and they all completed the course. Conflict between these two communities is now over.
Sambang, Mamadi, participant who successfully completed the training, has this to say.
We have got experience and knowledge how to make 7 items from honey. That's very important. And the second thing is that this organization, mainly the most important aspect of it is peace. We want to foster peace among the village, because for the last 10 years we have been fighting, wounding each other. So, but our International Trade Center come up with this idea to train us together and bring us together and to bring coherent understanding among ourselves.
Each of the participants received certificates for successfully completing the training and were also given beekeeping gear such as smokers, buckets, gloves, and shoes for use during honey processing. The two communities also came up with an initiative by forming the Sambang United Beekeeping Association that will encourage them to work as a team and foster dialogue and unity amongst them. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
For proper planning and delivery, adequate resourcing is a must. The Planning Service Unit of the Department of Agriculture on Monday received valuable materials from the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO at a ceremony held at the PSU premises in Banjul. Yahya Jao again.
The ultimate aim of this donation is to help the country better manage the agriculture and natural resources sectors through evidence-based decision-making and planning. The donated items include 13 brand new motorcycles and IT accessories such as printers and photocopy machines. The assistance is also part of the FAO-funded technical cooperation project, worth $24,480,000. Dr. Mustafa Sise, head of programs at the FAO, says his organization has been working with the Planning Services Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture for the past year to enhance their work, especially in the area of data collection, and highlighted the objective of this intervention.
You will all agree with me that the most important thing in planning development or in development planning is evidence-based decision making. And the most important element in evidence-based decision making is data. That is why FAO has been working with the Ministry of Agriculture to enhance its capacity to collect, analyze, disseminate, and utilize data.
According to Fatou Jammeh Toure, Deputy Permanent Secretary under Project and Programs at the Ministry of Agriculture, says over the years the FAO has contributed immensely to the development of agriculture in the country, saying their areas of intervention are always key to the work of the ministry.
No rational decision can be made as far as development is concerned without data. And here we are to present tools that will efficiently help the planning services to correct data, to help in rational decision making as far as the development of the agricultural sector and the country are concerned. We thank FAO for their meaningful collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture in developing the Gambia.
Francis Mendy, Director of the Planning Services Unit, explained how the unit operates and said the donated materials will help them be effective and efficient in carrying out their functions, and thanked the FAO for their wonderful gesture.
Planning has been taxed with a lot of issues, and under planning we have about 4 sections, but by the time when you return back to the department we are going to have 4 units. And these units are, we have one which is policy formulation, we have the monitoring and evaluation unit, we have the agricultural resources and economic statistics unit, and we have what is known as the programs and projects. And of course, these motorcycles, of course, will go a long way in making the lives of our enumerators work easier, because we all know that data collection is very expensive, and then, of course, to reach out to the respondents that we may be targeting in terms of agricultural production, we need to move here and there. And in the absence of these motorcycles, of course, it's going to make the life of our workers, our extension workers, enumerators, difficult.
The donated materials will go a long way towards helping the Planning Services Unit's data collection activities, and they are quest to ensure that relevant, correct and timely information relating to agricultural activities in the country are obtained. Reporting for QTV News, I am Yahya Jao.
We will take a short commercial break, and still to come, local, international and sports news headlines. Welcome back. The World Trade Organization has chosen Nigeria's former finance minister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, as its first African and first female leader. Her appointment came after the WTO had a special General Council meeting on Monday. Mamoudou Mbodj tells us the story of how this came to be.
According to reports, U.S. President Joe Biden strongly swung behind her candidacy shortly after the only other remaining contender, South Korean Trade Minister Yoo Myung-hee, pulled out. Speaking after her appointment, Okonjo-Iweala said her top priority was to ensure the WTO does more to address the coronavirus pandemic, saying members should accelerate efforts to lift export restrictions, slowing trade in needed medicines and supplies, and warned of the danger posed by vaccine nationalism. She could not have taken over at a worse time. The WTO, even before the outbreak of the pandemic, was already grappling with stalled trade talks and struggling to curb tensions between the United States and China. Okonjo-Iweala is expected to set about bridging the growing divide between the two giants, the world's first and second largest economies. Her entree would also include plans for a multilateral accord to curb harmful fishing subsidies and reappointing judges to fill vacant posts on the WTO's appeals panel. Trump had blocked the WTO from appointing appeal judges to arbitrate in disputes, hampering the organization's ability to resolve claims of trade abuses. As a two-time finance minister in Nigeria and one-time foreign minister and the first woman to hold that cabinet position in her country, the Harvard-educated economist with a PhD from MIT, Okonjo-Iweala, gained a reputation as a tough negotiator during talks to reduce the country's debts. Her reputation was consolidated when securing more money for grants and soft loans to poor countries, while number 2 at the World Bank. Many of her former colleagues say she is exactly the person that the world needs at the helm of international trade in these turbulent times. She currently chairs the Gavi board, a global vaccine alliance instrumental in ensuring that developing countries have much-needed access to COVID-19 vaccines. In an interview with the Africa Report last year, Okonjo-Iweala was asked why she was campaigning for what was widely seen as the job from hell. She reportedly smiled quickly and clicked back in her stride. "Because I'm really passionate about trade," she said, and added, "Trade is not an end in itself, it's a means to an end, an instrument that helps deliver development so that those who have been marginalized can be brought in." That, analysts say, explains Trump's opposition to her. Their view of trade is mercantilist, maximize exports, minimize imports in the cause of economic nationalism. According to her supporters, Okonjo-Iweala sees trade as a motor for growth, development and raising living standards, which was the original remit of the WTO, but gradually relegated behind battles over commercial dispute resolution and geopolitical rivalries between China and the United States. The WTO, tasked with promoting free trade, has been without a permanent leader since Roberto Azevedo stepped down a year earlier than planned at the end of August 2020. The new DG now has the task of restoring trust in a rules-based global trading system. As some analysts have said, it's time for not just free trade, but fair trade. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbow.
Now to sports news. CK Lemon Creek won Lamen's grassroots football competition on penalty shootout against Universal Academy. It was a repeat of the final held 2 weeks ago between the two sides, which ended in a stalemate. I was at the Lamen grounds to watch the final, and this is my report. A goal in each half eventually led to a penalty shootout to separate two evenly matched clubs. Ibrahim Kante's header gave CK Lemon Creek the lead 28 minutes into the game, sparking wild celebrations. After the break, the Academy boys, Universal Academy, pressed for an equalizer, displaying intense attacking prowess. Just 4 minutes into the second half, Alassane Sedi called in a shot from outside the box, which surprisingly beat goalkeeper Karuka Suso. Both teams pressed to get a winner before the end of regulation time, but failed to score as both defense stood firm. In the penalty shootout, two important saves by Karuka Suso ensured CK Lemon Creek emerge as champions. It was a moment of joy for goal scorer Ibrahim Oke.
Game of play successfully on advantage. So I never create the run more than a console. Mina long ko bijang gon support kan. Ya kada ko inde wan ben fe jang sai. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. So ndebe na happy about it. You know first time that ko win na for you inshallah.
Retired footballer Murun Dao, organizer of the competition, says his dream is to see the development of players in his community.
Felt very happy and then very comfortable, and then as you can see, it's a very successful final for the second time. So I am happy that the teams played very well, and then one has to go home with the trophy.
Former Banjul United coach, now Deputy Mayor of Banjul, Omar Toure, attended the final. He commended Murun Dao for giving an opportunity to young players to showcase their talents.
You know, as you said, I'm part of the football family, and Mr. Ndao Kapla is a friend of me, invited me in this final today. We were here last week. Unfortunately, nobody won, and this week we are here today, but the Lamin team won. And I love football. I'm a part of football, and I see a lot of talent and a lot of people here who love football and love sports for that matter. Definitely, that's why I'm here.
Bakari Baji is the Minister of Youth and Sports. He hailed the community interest in football.
The teams played twice. They played 2 weeks ago, and they drew 2-2, and then they played again today, and it's a 1-1 draw, and they have to go to the penalty kick-out. But even if the penalty kick-out, we all see what happened. It was not enough for one of the teams to win. But what we can see is a display of talent at the grassroots level, and it also shows the community interest in the amount of people that came out or turned out to watch the game. And so that's what we are interested in, seeing people coming out to sports.
Gambian international Jean Fayenjai began his grassroots football from this tournament and on this very sandy ground. The tournament has yielded some benefits, at least for now, and the hope is that there is a lot more to come. Now let's have a quick look at our main news stories. Following the new outbreak of Ebola in Guinea, the Director of Health Services told QTV about the Gambia's preparedness to deal with the deadly disease. A West African sub-regional conference of participants from 3 countries in West Africa, including the Gambia, have held a one-day conference to build knowledge and capacity of women to actively participate in sustainable peace building. As Independence Day approaches, a forum asks us to pause and reflect on the architects of our country's independence. We heard how beekeeping and conflict management training brought 2 warring communities together. In international news, the World Trade Organization has chosen Nigeria's former finance minister Nkosi Okonjo-Iweala as its first African and first female leader. And in sports news, we heard about the exciting climax to a grassroots football tournament. That's all we have for you in this bulletin of the news. Thank you very much for watching, but don't forget to join us at 10 for another bulletin.